Buonasera a tutti.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this last press conference before the inauguration of Eima International. Saying I'm not moved would be a lie. I'm told that, oh, you shouldn't tell lies to journalists. But anyway, let's start. The world of mechanical farming mechanization is one of the things that condition both farming and the agricultural mechanization, in fact, is one of the variables which determine the industrial economy, but also, of course, determine the agricultural world. In the last year, the industrial world has suffered from high cost of raw materials and energy. This especially linked to geopolitical questions and also the war in the Middle East. Measures have been started to try and contain this inflation, but nonetheless there was greater difficulty to have access to money and therefore investments. A world increase of 3% of the GDP in the world is expected. This is in line with last year, even if, of course, there's a difference from one country to another. The countries which have an important trend, which is China and India, the US 2%, and Europe 0.2%. The agricultural scenery, unfortunately, there doesn't seem to be a real increase in production and activity because, in fact, the results are not better, will not be better than the last period. In 2024, there should be a cereal production which is in line with the last year, but positive results is seen in India for rice, but in wheat for Australia. But in Europe, in fact, we see a general downturn. We have wine, which is less 7%, fruit, that's peaches, less 10%. We have one positive figure, which is olive oil, and that's gone up. This is due to the fact that it was a very poor year last year. An important agricultural context is animal husbandry. In 2023, there was a very small increase, 0.7%, and that is due to two countries, especially South America and Oceania. of 12% in compared to 2023. All the main markets, in fact, are seeing poor results. India and China 10%, US 12%, and again 12% with regard to Europe on average. Even if, in fact, we have different situations in Europe, France less than 8%, Germany rather held up a bit better and is fairly stable. Now we see in Canada minus 16%, Japan 28% down, and 32% Russia, and in Russia too. Let's have a look at the short-term forecasts. With regard to the second part of this year, in other words, the closure of this year, the data would seem to confirm what we saw before. And this with the exception of China, which should confirm it had a fall at the beginning of the year, but is recovering, in fact, in the last months of this year. And the Chinese market has shown a fall which was lower, and there'll be a recovery because the government has started government programs giving 3 billion in possible funding of investments. The US confirms a negative result, and there is a fall of the market because of the high and low-powered machines, which was requested. And Japan, even if it is positive, with positive results because of the yields of rice, nonetheless is having a change in size of companies. We see a constant reduction in the number of active farming businesses. In France, the factors have gone down by 10%. And with small factories, there's been orchard factories, there's been a fall of 20. In the UK, we have seen negative results for tractors and for other types of vehicles. The Argentinian market is still uncertain because even if there was a contraction in the first months, but there's been recovery in the summer with trailers and tractors. So we will overall see a situation in the red. Not more than 2 million units. Of course, that is lower than 2016. The number of tractors from 17 to 23 was an average of 2.2 million, with a peak in 2021 with 2.5 million. So with this generalized fall, in fact, exports, of course, are always also involved, and the machines manufactured in our country. Now let's look at Italy, which is one of the countries which is very strong in agricultural machinery and an exporting country. At the end of year, we see an overall 13.3 billion euros with a fall of 19% compared to last year. This is the sum of the various types of machinery, and the tractors amount to more than 2 billion euros, and the components, you can see 3.3 billion, as you can see on the slide, and we have components. The fall is due to domestic fall demand, the fall in domestic demand, but also foreign demand. We saw a 12.9% fall for tractors, and also falls for other types of machines. In the first 9 months, we've seen a considerable fall. So by the end of the year, we're going to have a considerably poor result of about 15.6% of all tractors sold. So these large considerables are, in fact, concern many types of factors. This contraction is also seen in gardening materials and tractors, but you can see from the slide that from January to September 2024, we've seen the results which have, to a certain extent, been better. And from January to September, we see plus 1.2%. Now, let us see the exports. In the first 6 months of the year, tractors have gone down by 2%, 3.4 billion, but this amounts to 2.2 billions in the overall figure of exports. We know that made in Italy machines, in fact, go to the US, France, and Germany, and China has also improved. This, however, has these figures have come from a research that we do among our members. In the third quarter, 60% of the manufacturers showed that their revenues were less than the previous year, with companies that say that they have between 11 and 20% downturn. The same applies to orders. The order books and they're expected to be for about 60% of all the company members. So what is the outlook for 2025? For the first part of the year, still there will be a downturn, but this comes from the monitoring that we carried out as FederUnacoma. In the second part of the year, there should be a recovery. And this is something that is somewhat comforting. Another thing that comforts us is that 64% of companies plans nonetheless to, in the next 2 years, increase its investments. As we always say, and always we have underlined, the fall in the sales of agricultural machinery is due to a series of factors, and it's not a reduction in the actual need. In fact, in the future, demand is due to grow because agriculture is developing apace and constantly. FAO says that production will increase by 10% in a period that goes from 2024 to 2033. This, in fact, led by India, Africa, and sub-Saharan Africa, which will have an increase which will be double that of the world increase. And in the next 10 years, the growth will, to the tune of 80%, due to the increase of innovative cropping and mechanical, advanced state-of-the-art mechanical innovations, and therefore agricultural mechanization will be increasingly important in the future. So what are the challenges that agriculture has to face? Let's start from one figure. Within 2050, about 590 million hectares of agricultural land will be needed, compared to the 1.6 billion currently tilled, and that will give 10% of food production for a population which will grow by several billions. So being able to have machinery for the various types of environments is one of the challenges of agricultural mechanization. But this sector will have other challenges, for example, supporting agriculture and solving problems related to climate change, which is increasingly dramatic, especially the lack of water, and which is caused by climate change. Arid areas cover 40% of the planet's global surface, and desertification processes now affect 2 billion hectares of land, with an impact on the population of approximately 1.5 billion people. Of course, the land is losing its fertility and the loss of biodiversity because of intensive agriculture. So I would say that we're facing a very complex scenario. The sector of agricultural machinery is nonetheless destined to grow, as we have seen, and all the plethora of figures that we have given you. But it's not a sector that will grow linearly. It's a market which the industry as members will have to interpret in its various functions. We will see the change in the geography of the markets. For many years, we considered agriculture mechanization as a specific prerogative of certain leader countries, US, Europe, and Japan. But with also India and China. But recently, the recent geopolitical crises have changed the distribution of commodities and new transit routes. The deficit caused by of cereal caused by the war in Ukraine have shifted the markets to China, India, but especially Australia and Argentina. These new countries will obviously have an effect on the demand for machines. So what are the emerging markets as a result of this? Start with Brazil. I saw figures for Brazil, which I didn't know and really surprised me. The import of machines in Brazil was 1.6 billion euros in 2023, and in the last 3 years, this has meant a 34% increase. In 2000, and the forecast for the next 4 years is some 8.1%. The same for Australia. In 2023, had imports of 3.8 billion, and in the next 4 years, a growth of 4% is expected. But in the development of the market, a fundamental variable is that of population growth, which affects many countries. For example, Indonesia, which is some 300 million people now, and as to the imports of agricultural machinery, which have growth, they've gone from 2009 of 104 million euros to 700 million euros in 2023. But also there was growth in other countries as well, Vietnam, the Philippines, and Thailand, which all have very important growth figures. Now let's go to a continent which is in the spotlight of our government, but also of many other countries. In other words, Africa. The demographic variable is even stronger in this country. Sub-Saharan Africa in 2050 will account for 50% of the world's growth, and this especially Nigeria, which has 230 million people. In 2050 is forecast to have over 400 million. Ethiopia and Democratic Republic of Congo have about 100 million people, and they are likely to grow enormously in the next 20 years, becoming one of the 10 most populous countries in the world. And Sub-Saharan Africa, only 12% of the soil is cultivated, and the Democratic Republic of Congo cultivates 10%. And therefore, with this situation, we can forecast that there will be a very strong increase in agricultural machinery into these countries and generally on to the African continent. It's true that, however, the market is fragmented, especially because the development of cropping will be very strong, and will involve all the regions. And nonetheless, this technological process will not take place harmoniously, evenly, but which will be fragmented and discontinuous. And now, the development of the world's economy, the famous globalization, has in fact now been replaced by regional growth, where specific regional areas are setting up agreements as a region and are becoming self-sufficient economic systems. This is very much influenced by geopolitical issues and also trade barriers and so on. And this represents a challenge for many countries. Transport is very much on the increase, and this usually for geopolitical reasons. So in this scenario, the proximity of importer and exporter countries becomes very important, and technology becomes all important. In fact, the China and Indian manufacturers, in fact, have gained a lot of market in these particular geopolitical areas, especially they have done very well in Africa. So we have to see new forms of cooperation, between the industrial world and the industrializing world, with a view to the development of intensive agriculture, but with high quality, as opposed to the opposite. If as we see the growth in the world and in agriculture, 2 or 3 speeds, and the division into various blocks. This is a situation which is not favorable for us. We cannot just see the agriculture in this sense. Agriculture and commerce is global, especially. In fact, this is seen by many economists as a means of creating peace, that of increasing machines and increasing the push towards prosperity. Let's come to Eima now. Agricultural mechanization can in fact be improved both in quality and quantity in a situation of commercial cooperation. And of course here the political bodies are all important to work in the general interest, but launching mechanization is all important, and here Eima International plays a role to develop a choral development of agro-mechanical sector. Eima International is definitely a laboratory and also a sounding box for this sort of technological exchange. I would like to now thank the President of Bologna Fiere for welcoming us so, and also giving us this opportunity with this fair. And we have the CEO Bruzzoni here. And I'd like to thank also all the team of Eima and FederUnacoma for the great work, the enormous work they've put in. This is the first time that I have participated on this side of the bench, not as an exhibitor, and I can see that it's really highly high precision military machine. And I wish you all the very best and a very interesting fair. And I'd like to give the floor now to the CEO of FederUnacoma, who will explain more about the fair.
Buon pomeriggio a tutti, anche da parte mia.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this 46th edition. Today, the approach will be a bit different. The information on Eima data have been already addressed on several occasions this year, also with your participation. Since January, we sort of organized 25 press conferences all over the world. We shared know-how of Eima at G7 on agriculture, so there's a lot of innovation that we are discussing. But I want to start again from the past 18th of January, where we underlined the importance of the innovation factory. This definition was not chosen by chance. It's got a meaning because it reflects a strategy. Eima International is indeed the factory of innovation because it's the place where technological solutions needed to deal with the major agricultural challenges are developed and shown. That's why we want to strengthen our position as a reference point for the whole sector on a world scale. And we've often underlined that agriculture is attracting the attention of scientists and policymakers because it will have to be strictly involved in meeting the most important challenges of this planet. This is evidence that the agricultural mechanics sector is doing a lot to meet these new challenges. How can we face these new challenges involving agriculture? This requires technological innovations developed by industries and by electronics. It's a process that is now moving ahead with the collaboration of companies, universities, research and training institutions, policymakers and information. They all meet here at Eima, and they all contribute, therefore, to stepping up this process of finding solutions within this huge factory of innovation. That's why an event such as Eima International is so relevant. In fact, it contributes to finding solutions to all agricultural models. And this is why we want to confirm our role, our strategic role in the present scenario. Let me discuss with you what these challenges are. Let's imagine we make a tour of this event. If we had to imagine a tour of Eima, we would find the answers to many of the questions we address every day, no matter which is the sector you belong to. These are matters that are dear to the heart of everyone, not only to agricultural machinery makers. So there will be the exhibition of the winners of the technical innovations and honorable mentions for 2024. 20 winners for technical innovation and 48 mentions. But what are the trends we can underline? Well, there are many, starting from increasing automation through solutions that concern spraying and safety and precision, as well as advanced ISO bus communication systems, sensors, equipment, electrification. This electrification should not be imagined as a full electrification of all agricultural work. There are some machineries that still require internal combustion engines, and they cannot be replaced with electricity. So it's a world of innovation that is always careful and careful to some key principles. Harmonizing agriculture with the natural environment, reducing energy consumption, improving operating conditions in terms of safety, as well as increasing productivity. The tour continues again in the search for answers. We are aware that one of the key challenges that we need to address, as the President pointed out, is the need to make ever larger areas of the planet cultivable. We'll need 7 million hectares more in 2050. That's why tractors of all powers are needed. We also underline the need to increase the production of high value-added products. So we need, therefore, to develop special tractors. And then there is also the third sector of our exhibition, the third sector in pavilions 14, 16, 19, 35 and 36. Another thing that we need is to find a way to cope with the lack of manpower in agriculture, especially in countries that are advanced economically. In this respect, Eima is offering many products to collect and gather the products that may replace manual work. The solutions that are exhibited here are very many. The question of the use of to reduce the use of pesticides is addressed in pavilions 25, 35 and 37. Preserving organic matter in the soil and containing the CO2 trapped in the soil are two things that are reflected by the devices and equipment presented in sectors 4 and 12 of the pavilions. And you will see many different pavilions showing machinery of many manufacturers. Then, of course, there's another major challenge, and that is climate change and the scarcity of water resources. In this respect, pavilions 21, 22, and 23 contain Eima Hydrotech, one of our special showcases, where many different equipments are being shown, made by over 2,050 companies, and the exhibition space is over 10,000 square meters. There's also an emerging need to produce biofuels, and pavilions 26 and 30 host all the companies in this sector, over 100 of them, that will illustrate the use of this kind of mechanization. Then again, the increasing size of cities require new solutions to take care of the greenery in urban areas. Eima Green presents the expanding number of machineries for agricultural and para-agricultural activities in urban areas. The pavilions are 33 and 34. The need for science-based and cheaper use of natural resources requires an increasing use of digital technologies. Eima is presenting the latest cutting-edge technology with Eima Digital, which is another showcase in pavilions 32 and 37. It was started last year with Eima International, but this year there's been an important development. There's an internal exhibition area, and there's also a showcase in the new show area called Real, where new agricultural robots can be seen in action. Of course, single components need improvement, constant improvement. New generation engines influence the environment, and this is shown in the Eima components exhibition, where there are over 800 exhibitors in this area of over 30,000 square meters devoted to this kind of specialization. I spoke about agriculture, but of course there's also livestock sector, which is addressed in the 9th sector of Pavilion 30. The number of the consumption of milk and meat globally are growing because of the increase in population and the changes in diets. This sector too, therefore, requires great attention, perhaps even more than what is done in other sectors. That livestock machinery described here can not simply improve and optimize production, but also takes care of the important principles of animal health and well-being. In general, all agricultural mechanization is respectful of an ethical view, which is an important component of the real progress of human beings, something that cannot be forgotten. It's a matter of dealing with nature, with the land, with fruits and vegetables. So in this respect, agricultural machinery is closely related to our health and well-being. All agricultural products need to be stored and transported in a fashion that can minimize losses, and that to requires specific technologies. That will be illustrated in sectors 8 and 11 in Pavilion 30. So all of this is a clear sign of how complex this extraordinary 2024 event will be, hosting 1,748 exhibitors, 675 foreign exhibitors from 50 countries, and 60,000 new models of machinery that are shown. All of this will contribute to the future of agriculture. Eima products are also going to be visible in showcase area, and there will also be a show by the finalists of the Tractor of the Year. There will be 2 events a day, one in the morning, one in the afternoon, so you will have an opportunity to see how tractors can really be fascinating. Then there's another area devoted to garden emotion, on gardening machines, with robotics, the large use of robotics, and then the driver trophy that you certainly have seen in the past as well. All these things clarify the international relevance of Eima. We are involved in all the world countries where the right technologies are made available for the right type of agriculture. There will be 400 operators that will visit Bologna, representing 5 continents. And I really want, once again, to underline how important it is for us to be supported by ITA, that has always provided a lot of help to this exhibition, taking care of a number of important issues such as market changes, monitoring, the development of pilot projects, the establishment of centers for technical and commercial cooperation. Within ITA, we have attracted, as I said, 400 operators from 85 countries, representing 5 continents, and there will be some B2B meetings with the companies involved participating in Eima International. There will be 3 days of focused events focusing on Asia, Africa, and Europe and the Balkans. All these things have a number of political and cultural impacts. Being aware of this, the program that we develop every year tries to reflect all these factors, which are all extremely important. Over these 5 days, there will be 150 different meetings that in the form of focus groups, talk shows, in-depth seminars, conferences on all the important topics of agromechanics and agriculture. I can mention just a few of these with you for reasons of time. I cannot illustrate all of them. You can find, of course, the list on the official website. where they will also be listed on a daily basis. Tomorrow there will be a political discussion on technologies for the agromechanical industry, professional skills and markets, the new challenges for the agricultural business. There will be the Minister of Agriculture, Francesca Lollobrigida, the Vice Minister of the Department of Made in Italy, Valentino Valentini, the President of Agriculture Professional Educational Institutions. So a number of important people involved in agriculture that will illustrate the traits of the industrial policy chosen by the government. Tomorrow there will also be another important conference called African Free Trade Area and the Mattei Plan, a window into the future of agriculture, promoted by FederUnacoma, to discuss the effects of the free trade area. Then we'll discuss again the role of Made in Italy in this sector in a conference on innovation and mechanization, the future of agricultural machinery. It will be attended by the Sub-Secretary of State of the Made in Italy companies, Massimo Bicolti. But Eima also devotes some of its attention to very specific topics. We want to take this opportunity to give everyone a voice. So there will be a conference with the participation of Euro MPs that will be able to whom we'll be able to show the excellency of our sector and discuss with them European industrial policies to contribute to their sustainability. This will be a conference that will be held on the 8th of November, and there will be many members that are part of European institutions. Within this huge program, there will be a large space devoted to digital technologies, robotics, and artificial intelligence in the area of agriculture and in the management of primary companies. This will be held in what we've called Digital Terrace, an area where all the technological innovation of this industry will be discussed, from self-running machines to cybersecurity to artificial intelligence applications, a presentation of the European project for education and sustainable agricultural protection. There will also be another important program promoted by the 11 universities that are cooperating with Eima, and then there will be also an important series of events of MEC Agri-Jobs to discuss new opportunities in this sector promoted by FederUnacoma and FederUnacoma. The success of MEC Agri-Jobs requires a comment. The new generations are increasingly focusing their attention to this sector, and many of them are joining Eima. Eima is a highly professional event, of course, but we realize every year, year after year, that there's a lot of interest in this sector also by new generations, because it is certainly a very promising area for future generations. In addition to its technological value, mechanization is increasingly becoming an important economic policy instrument. So we are trying to find the most profitable convergence on this with our political counterparts and spokespersons and institutional representatives. Eima International once again is an important opportunity, and for this reason we have organized a number of events to discuss these matters with politicians. The pavilion is called New Eima Extend, the New Eima Extend space for all stakeholders in the supply chain, as well as institutional representatives. We felt it was very important for them all to have an opportunity to establish a dialogue and contribute to developing an agenda to meet common challenges. As I said, I mentioned just a few of these events. There will be politicians and members of the institutions that will join us, and we are very happy for this, for a number of reasons. First of all, because agriculture and agricultural machinery can be taken into proper account by politicians in all countries. We know that we can profitably collaborate with the government. And we've had evidence this year that they are interested in taking advantage of this opportunity. So we've done our best, and I tried myself today to make this event increasingly interesting for everyone. Of course, we always attach a lot of importance to information, and this year about 700 journalists have been accredited, 50% of whom are foreigners. There's going to be a web TV broadcasting over 50 events. There will be, and there are 40 content creators, including 15 foreigners. We've also confirmed to have an opportunity to offer them an opportunity to join our efforts. With regard to social, I want to thank all the 170 companies that have registered for this competition. Being the first edition, I think the number is quite significant. The 16 winners will be awarded their prize on Saturday, the 9th of November at 12:15 in the Sala del Quadriportico. These 16 winners will receive 3 awards for Facebook, Best Creativity, Best Technical and Information Content, Greatest Emotional Impact, 3 for IG, Best Creativity, Best Technical and Information Content and Greatest Emotional Impact, and 3 for YouTube, Best Storytelling, Best Technical and Information Content and Most Views. There will also be the honorable mentions, as you know. I told you that at the beginning. They will concern Best Integrated Communication, I Love Eima, Most Funny, Movie Award, World Award, Best of the Best. These are the 6 honorable mentions we have developed this year. It's a sign that many companies really love Eima, and many people have joined in, and many of the contributions sent were extremely interesting. Now, having said that, all I can say is that this is an event that we have to live together and enjoy together. It's an event, a trade fair with great international acclaim, an event for business, a point of reference for the industry, as well as an important meeting place and a must-see show. I really want to thank again all the people that have joined and worked hard in the organization. This year, we want to really give people the feeling that Eima is an event that they cannot lose, and this is why this edition has also offered new innovation, a new event that had never been organized before. It's a great party called Agro Groove, the Sound of Eima, that will be held on the 8th of November at the Grand Tour Italia. And we are expecting to have as many as 6,000 participants. There will be live music. So that will be an opportunity to expand outside the trade fair area and enjoy a party all together. Bologna is a city that has always done its best for Eima. So Eima is not just an event that occurs in Bologna or is organized in Bologna, was born in Bologna originally. And the service provided by the city has largely contributed to its success. For this reason, on the 7th of November, we have organized another event in which many local restaurants will dedicate a dish to Eima, and there will be also this Eima Green evening with a special lightning of Palazzo Renzo using the Eima Green color. And finally, I also want to recall another innovation. It's a shop called I Love Eima. This sense of belonging is a key to our project. Belonging to Eima is also an opportunity to devote ourselves to awareness raising. This year we visit the ambassador of the City of Hope, as it's called. It's a center of oncological cancer research, and we also wanted to cooperate with another onlus called Eima for Africa, that is working on a project that is very dear to our heart. So in conclusion, Eima is a concentration of many interesting events. It's hard to think that you can enjoy all these things in just 5 days, but we are able to concentrate business, relationships, knowledge, identity, and being there. So we want all of you to experience all this with us. As we often say in this press conference, and by the way, after the COVID-19 pandemics, the number of participants in international trade fair has become very significant to our eyes. Having a large attendance is not just the sign that an event has been successful. We think that this year Eima has been extremely attractive. We believe there will be over 350,000 visitors. And mind you, in 2022, we already broke a record. We had 327,000 visitors. If we manage to reach 350,000, we'll be very, very happy. But I can understand that even though some people may not visit us from other countries for a number of reasons, that will be a sign of great success. So when you organize an event, one of the key questions you would ask visitors is, why have you come and why will you return? The answer we'd like to have is always, I came because Eima is essential for my work, strategic for my future, and it's a fascinating experience that gets better every year. That is the answer that we are looking forward to. If we can achieve this goal, this will be the sign that we've been able to be successful in building something together with pride and passion. So Eima, so my final statement is that Eima is the answer to the challenges of the future. It is our world and our living factory. Thank you all for being here.
Un saluto del presidente della Fiera di Bologna.
I'd like to thank the president of Bologna Fiera for coming. Well, as always, Eima's program is always full of events and opportunities for all exhibitors and visitors. I must thank my friends of Eima for this friendship that has lasted so many years and will continue in the future, and which also has had difficult times during COVID, for example. We had common problems that were really complicated, and we had to think about how we could help each other mutually. And then it started off with a bang. 150,000 people expected, and we had to give the best that we could. And now with the 300,000 odd, of course, is something which is quite a challenge. We have to be able to welcome them. They're looking for their own professional interest. It's an important moment, but also for our cities, who will really try and give it our all. When a trade starts, we all take for granted what happened in the past and what was going on beforehand, but in fact it was interesting to have the old vintage cars leave the fair the day before, and then yesterday all the machinery, agricultural machinery, come in. It was an interesting thing. We go from passion for cars and passion for agriculture. We know that the agricultural sector has several challenges. We have produced more food because the population population is growing, but do so in a more sustainable way. And I think that what we see here, what we're going to see, the showcase, is what will make, and what is in the showcase will make these two challenges a reality and will allow us to overcome them. And so these days of exhibition are all important, as are the exchanges that will take place. So I would really like to thank everybody, obviously to the organizers. Also, I'd like to thank the personnel of the fair who worked very hard to ensure the success of this meeting, and also the town and the city, which is prepared to welcome the visitors, something that we Bolognese know how to do. So the very best wishes. Everything is set up for a great success. And I think also it will be important for me too to say that we are working to complete the commitment that we took to make the whole fair district more complete. So in the next few months and weeks, we will be able to start the work of the new hall to further improve accessibility with a new entrance place, with a new exhibition spaces, which are up to the task of hosting international fairs, and especially the requirements of Eima, with which we have a series of joint investments. So we are going to have two stops of the tram service, which will make visitors, which will ease visitors' access. And so this is our commitment. And again, all the very best to the organizers, and also best wishes to the press and media for helping us communicate what is going on and what will be going on the next few days. Thank you. Well, I think now we can open the floor to questions. We're practically ready. Good evening. I'm here very quickly. The director, the CEO, the Eima extended, you said, is an economic policy instrument, but we've seen, in fact, political people. The minister will be there, the deputy minister will be there. So first of all, the first question is, what is the significance of these, the presence of the political body for the sector? Well, the significance is what I tried to underline in my presentation. Certainly, there is no doubt that agriculture and agricultural mechanization is the first link in a chain which is very important, very much more important than even in the past, because what we took for granted a few years ago is something that we realize is no longer to be taken for granted. It's not something which is obvious to create, to build, grow more crops, to have to face the results of climate change, nor is it obvious that we can exploit our natural resources to the best avail. Not only European politicians, but international politicians and policies are going in the direction of safeguarding our planet, adopting policies that are based on sustainability, and all this must start from agriculture. Therefore, as a principle, because in general we are more important as a policy requirement for any country. We are the first link in that chain. We are the most important, starting from food self-sufficiency. So it's also important that we have a dialogue with an organization of a sector, an organization like ours, which is a federation of manufacturers, and it is we are, if you like, the sounding box for the needs of our members. And so the ministries and the ministers that we usually deal with immediately showed their focus and attention and interest in having, through us, an understanding of their competence, and also to be able to dialogue together to carry forward a policy. Good evening. I would like to go into the aspect of the importance of innovation with the President and the CEO. As you mentioned, the challenges that agricultural mechanization faces, and also the weight of the markets. And so how important is innovation? How can we answer and meet these challenges, which are global, but also give some breathing space to a market or a sector which is having difficulties? This was a sector which has always been very traditional and which never really moved away from traditional machinery, the type of production that it had. But I would say that in the last 10 years, especially in the last 5, we have seen a quantum leap in the development of new products, new technologies, new applications. But especially it's a sector that has understood that by innovating it can meet the increasingly pressing demands of economic operators. People want efficiency. They want to be able to work with new systems, with innovative machines that can provide more data which can be used to make their farms more efficient, not just to produce more, but to produce better. If we think of what is being done with regard to the product and the whole line of product, and from farm to fork, as it were, how I produce, and the idea that the food will finally get on the table. I can trace back all the particular processing steps. This has to start from production, from like the machine, and therefore innovation has been very strong. And companies have understood that innovation is, however, complicated. And also, our manufacturing world is made up of small to medium-sized companies, and therefore it makes it harder. But we collect data from our company partners and members, and we have understood that they have all understood that they must make this thrust towards innovation. I before mentioned a figure that 74% of our companies, even if they are going through difficult times, in the next year, these companies intend to increase their investments in R&D. So on the one hand, it will be R&D because we have to forge ahead, and the companies realize they just have to go on. But on the other hand, we have to realize that we have markets before us. And I was talking about the East Asian, China, and Indian market that are very competitive. And we have to try and save what we can and know that what will help our companies is innovation. And this is where we have to make the difference in innovation before these other competitive countries. And the Italian manufacturers of agricultural machines have been particularly active in innovation in this field. 5 years ago, 4.0 industry got going, and that certainly gave everyone a boost. You have to, in fact, do something if you want to stay in the market under those conditions. So certainly, we have no doubts that innovation is where we are going. Hello, I come from Spain, a group of company. Mine is a specific question. I'd like to know if the catastrophe that Valencia is living through has influenced on Eima and on exhibitors who from this area who are planning or who have are exhibiting here. Not particularly, but obviously it's these emergency situations that are very difficult to face, and for those who actually live them. And in our case, we who live them indirectly, the exhibitors of Eima will be present. We've tried to give them all the extraordinary support possible given the situation, and we hope that you will soon be able to solve what we in Italy have unfortunately lived through. In this very region, in fact, we have had several floods which have been fairly disastrous. Only 10 days ago, half of Bologna was underwater. So these are dramatic events, catastrophes, and we feel very close to you, and we wish you all the best. Two very quick questions for Mariateresa, Maschio, and one for Simona, Rapastella. President, I'd like to say, unfortunately, the agricultural machinery market in Italy is such because we don't have incentives. We have farmers and agro-technician people. They're reluctant to invest because they're not given incentive. With regard to 2025, what sort of hope do you put in 5.0? 4.0 gave good results. Now, you have talked about 350,000 visitors you hope to have, and you have said that the foreign presence are important. How important? Well, I think that Italian agriculture is linked to incentives, but also the profitability of our farmers. Incentives are all important, certainly, because we've got used to this somewhat. Now, I don't want to be negative, not at all, also because, first of all, I explained, I know I'm a very quick speaker, so perhaps certain things might have slipped by. But our associates are quite positive with regard to the last part of this year. With regard to the incentives, in other words, 5.0, we have a tail end of the Recovery and Resilience Plan, which presumably will be delivered at the beginning of next year, and also on the basis of the request put in March. But also we have incentives linked to Sabatini now and other bodies. I think there's a second one. There's a support fund. So I think that 2025 won't be like 2024, which did prop up and help in terms of implements. 5.0, well, there are several levels. Confindustria, but FederUnacoma is part of this discussion and debate. And we're hoping to simplify things. That's not easy. But it's like everything. Some things, when they started, seemed very complicated and then weren't. But if there is serious work with our political dialogue partners, I'm sure that we can understand and find a compromise solution to get this off the ground. But it's in the interest of the government as well to start off 5.0 and not leave it by the wayside. So here again, I want to remain positive. I think I've answered everything. With regard to 5.0, just to complete what the President said, we in fact called upon the Undersecretary in his presentation that he's going to give at the meeting promoted by the Nazionale. We'll try to get him to answer this point specifically. One thing is to see at first hand what this means and to develop a measure which is good on paper for the sector, but then you have got to actually put it into practice. So let's hope that he can give us information in terms of the simplification that the President was talking about. With regard to the number of foreign visitors, well, here it's a bit more difficult to make forecasts. But in 2022, 57,000 visitors from outside Italy came, plus 10%, plus 15%. We're between plus 10, plus 15% of foreign visitors. And that should observe that to get up to 350,000 visitors that I talked of before. It's a big thrust because we've had every interest and we've had a lot of questions and inquiries with regard to foreign economic operators who are coming on their own as a business trip. Good evening. Eima certainly is a innovation fabric. You repeated this several times during the press conference. We know that very well. Now, working in the field and seeing what's happening on the ground, all this innovation sometimes doesn't in fact reach the farm. The builders, the manufacturers know this, dealers know this. They are in contact with the end user, even if 4.0 has brought in a lot of innovation. But we have to be honest, it very often doesn't actually get to the end user. Now, FederUnacoma and Eima, how can you give a hand to the supply chain to get these innovative technologies actually applied in the field? And there are many chains in this link, but can you do something to push this to being actually implemented. We think we can do something important. What you say is quite true, Marco. Compared to all the technology we see, the effective use of it is still fairly low percentage-wise compared to its true potential. And here we have to work in training across the board, because on the one hand, you have to get across to the farmer that using a new generation machine means that he has a across-the-board increase in the efficiency of his work and his production, and he can use and do work that he was used to doing, but now it has a value added, and the value added is also data collection, which is very important, but these data must be used to then improve things yet again. This is an aspect that can be done across the board, because we at FederUnacoma can have great ideas. In fact, we have set up an academy, a training academy for the industry. There'll be technical courses that are important. That goes to, I describe the machine, I'll explain how you must use all its technological advantages, why this is important, and what the benefits are, and then you list them. This extraordinary sort of work must be done, and we in a small way have tried to do this, but coordinating with all the other operators, because you can't go alone. In no way the system of the training system must be up to date, and there must be this sort of participation, and this applies also for the agricultural institutes that must teach innovative processes and with innovative products. It's true that what industry has produced in terms of innovation doesn't get to the field, but you have to say that innovation is an irreversible process. We can't go backwards, so we must in fact get this across, how to go forward, but to go forward in the best possible way. Good evening.
To ask, what is the inner discussion inside of FederUnacoma when we are talking about the end or collapse of the fuel in agriculture? Because we know that in agriculture, not everything we can make with electricity. We need the strong engines. What will you, as a federation, lobbying in the Commission of Europe? And this is the question. And secondly, I would like also to congratulate to Mariateresa Maschio as the new president, and there will be first Eima with new president, and I would like, what are the tasks of your job on your stand that you are here? Thank you.
No, thanks also for the thanks for.
I'll start from your second question. I thank you for asking me how I feel in my new capacity as president of Eima. Well, it's a great experience. It's really interesting to be part and parcel of the organization. And after 40 years, failing to be in a stand as I've done over all this time is not really easy. In a sense, you can understand that. But I realized that the staff organizing Eima are really very skillful, very competent people, and they gave me, and they are still giving me, a major help for my job. With regard to the question of the fuels and electric engines, personally speaking, I think electric engines can be exploited, but they cannot be the only thing we use. They can be used for some types of machineries, those that require limited power. So in that sense, using electric engines may also be a way of being, more respectful for the environment and taking environmental protection in our hands. However, in the case of more powerful machinery, the use of electricity is not feasible as yet. When you need to move 300 or 400 quintals weight machinery, you cannot think of using electricity for the time being. There are, of course, also some alternatives like biofuel engines. Many companies are making research on this and are working on this. So I think, as usual, we'll have to find the right balance and exploit all different solutions. Agromechanical industry is interested in making sustainable machinery, and that requires a lot of work, a lot of investments, but we have already started to move in that direction. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Ula from Botswana.
Sono altre domande? Sì?
Okay, if there are.
I don't know if I'm audible enough. Can you hear me? Hi, I'm from Botswana and I'm Ula. So looking at the Africa focus, you only mentioned the Western and Eastern countries. So has Eima leadership engaged key institutions such as SADC and SACU to build strategic partnerships in the Southern African market, with Botswana considered as a potential regional hub due to its investment appeal, geopolitical stability, and strategic influence?
L'Africa, as I said before in my speech, is certainly become or has become one of the continents where our sector in the next few years will certainly be concentrating on much more. But I think it's for two reasons. The first reason is that in the last 2 years in fact, we have a government which has activated the so-called Mate plan. It's a plan which is visionary, certainly visionary. It's very complex, though. But I think very strongly, I'm convinced, in fact, and together with the director, we said we will be working on this. So it's this first thing. We have a country system which is trying to work as a system to activate increasing cooperation in Africa. The second thing is, as I said before, Africa must be an increasingly self-sufficient friend and must start along this road. Today, many African countries import a lot. At the G7 in Syracuse, where FederUnacoma had the honor of being one of the main participants, talking with the minister from Senegal, he said, we import more than 1 billion worth of food, an enormous amount, thinking that it's a country that has the potential to produce much of this true food by itself. So I think that a road has now been paved, if you like, and we're at the right moment, with the right point in time to think that Africa, also for our sector, the Italian sector, can represent a great opportunity. But this obviously has to be done together, not with a philosophy of just arriving there and just thinking of selling, but a philosophy of thinking that we have to work together, cooperate together. There'll be a training side, which will be very important. I won't say predominant, but very important. There'll be an assistance phase, a support phase. But I think that the time has come. At the moment, we have a great opportunity. There's Africa, but there's also Italy. And I think that in the next few years, I can present, I hope that I'll be able to present slides that will show figures that will be very positive compared to what we have today. The population is growing, but the land cultivated is quite small. And it's very low in Africa. The amount of land that is cultivated, only 12% of potential arable land is in fact cropped. So this has to be increased. We must all think that there's an enormous potential. We can start and reach an objective only if we work together, however. Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm the interpreter, the Iranian interpreter, and I will translate the journalist question. This has to do with sanctions and embargoes. And the sanctions, well, you know that sanctions don't look at the pharmaceutical world. And as the agricultural sector can't have tourist aims, agriculture is there to give food to the people. There are many Iranian companies which over the last 50, 60 years have had very close links with Italian agriculture. So can Italy do something? The Iranian companies have been very faithful, but now today there's no possibility to have these professional relations with Italian companies. So the question is, or the request is, given your potential influence on the political world, could you give us a hand to remove the embargo on the sanctioned countries, at least for the agricultural sector? Well, certainly this is a complex question to deal with here, and I can't be exhaustive. The main problem is in exports of agricultural machinery in our case. Therefore, this limits collaboration with countries with which we have in the past had relations. also made in Italy companies and mechanization would be interested to link in once again and have cooperation with countries of the past. Italy, from this point of view, has always been a friendly country, and we will try and make requests, pressing requests to open up the whole discourse. But the problem for us especially is the question of the sanction on exporting farm machinery. No, the colleague is nodding. Yes, the two announcements. The foreign journalists, if you can come here, because we're going to have a meeting for them exclusively, so we can continue for the foreign journalists. For the other journalists, there is a peri dinner on this floor. So thank you all very much for all your attention, and I wish you a great Eima.